Hi, I'm Nan Simonsen. I'm a nationally board certified health and wellness coach, and I am today talking about self-care. Our title is Self-Care and Wellness. Dr. Goldner tells us that the first must come first, meaning that self-care is essential to wellness, short-term, long-term recovery, because without it, on a number of levels, we don't move forward. And I'm going to define that today. And what I'm going to ask you to do is personalize, because I thought one of the easiest ways to do it would be to do a PowerPoint of examples that relate to what I've learned. I did her rapid recovery six, no, I did Dr. Goldner's Goodbye Lupus Protocol, which is primarily food based uh, training as well as execution in September of 2024. Then in January, I did her Goodbye um, Lupus Rapid, or maybe Goodbye Autoimmune Rapid Recovery um, group, which is rather intensive, and it's day to day for 6 weeks. The food and the psychology, which is a biggie, biggie, biggie. And then I am, and now I am auditing, which means that I'm not an active member of the group in terms of all of the benefits, including individual, albeit during a group format, coaching, but I'm still following along and hearing everything and still able to get into the Facebook group and learn from her multiple videos. And what's interesting, and I think a lot of you will understand this as it relates to your own context, is that when we hear a thing, and we may hear it a couple of times, we think we have it. We think we've gotten it. But when we hear it again later, this is what, a month and a half past when I was part of the group listening to this, I'll hear things that I would have sworn were never said before, like, oh no, she's gotten in there and edited the video. Nah, I just didn't hear it. And I feel like I'm taking in a wealth of knowledge and information. She's not only a physician, but she's also a board certified psychiatrist and a expert on cellular health, and her husband is a expert on physiology, and you put all that together, and there's just a lot of healing knowledge in there. So after being exposed to that again and hearing from people again and again, this is what I've had to learn to execute, to do in order to leave behind my lupus, Sjogren's, scleroderma, multiple sclerosis, macular degeneration, Hashimoto's, which is where I am um, in terms of recovery. I realize that this is something I can't say enough about, and so I've said multiple times, I've talked about this multiple times, but this time I'm going to put it into a PowerPoint, and my best examples are my best examples. So while I'm going through the PowerPoint, you'll see what relates to what I consider self-care, because I can, in general, speak of self-care, and I will. I'll give you an outline of, I think it's 10 self-care elements that you may want to freeze frame your video and write down. But by the same token, I can't relate how that would actually apply in your life. So I'll be showing photos from my life. I encourage you, and I hope to remember to say this to you again at the end, to consider doing what I did. And that is ferreting out examples, either from your phone, and photos of the experiences that you clearly thought were valuable enough to record with photos or videos. And keep these things uppermost in mind, because when we fall back on old habits, it's very easy to remember. No, it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget where we were when we were stepping out of old habits into the new light, still a little bit of a strain, but loving the results before we did a backslide, if that is indeed what happened. So I'm going to take you on a journey and show you what self-care is as it relates to recovery, and primarily based on Dr. Goldner's uh, imperatives. And then we'll look at some examples. So I'm going to screen share. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go here. Okay. All right. So self-care and wellness, and I'll just read what you could read, but this way, if you're in a car listening, you don't have to do that. Dr. Goldner teaches us that in order to heal, we must do certain things, which she outlines in Goodbye Lupus, in the Goodbye Lupus protocol, and in Goodbye Autoimmune, she highlights another essential element that isn't necessarily covered in Goodbye Lupus, which is self-care. What does that look like? And that's what we're doing here today. Her two books, she has, oops, I put the wrong book in here. I meant to put Goodbye Lupus and Goodbye Autoimmune. It looks a lot alike, but one says Goodbye Autoimmune, and this one on the right is her cookbook, which I very much recommend if you're doing her protocol or not. It's a raw cookbook that is primarily focused on a rather strict elimination of processed foods to the inclusion almost exclusively of leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, omega-3 fatty acids, a limited amount of fruit, but plenty of fruit, and massive amounts of water. So that's Dr. Goldner. And this is why I refer to her, because I'm still to a degree entrenched in her program. So self-care is essential for healing, and here are 10 ways that you can express your well, that you can take part in self-care, what it does for you, and then we'll look at how you can express that. So meditation and mindfulness, it calms the nervous system, supports emotional resilience, reduces autoimmune flares by lowering stress hormones. Number two, gentle movement or an endorphin-inducing workout. Gentle movement can be yoga, tai chi, qigong, but it can also be something that's a butt-kicking workout that gets you high. Almost every morning, I'm doing one or the other. I am using an app called HasFit, HASFIT. I have put that into my phone the program Fit Over 40, and I'm 74. So this is harder than most people would put a 70-year-old through, which is fine. And it's a 90-day, day after day after day accumulation of tougher workouts. And I think I'm at day 35, 39, something like that. And I either do that or I'm on my bike, or sometimes I do both. And if I'm on my bike, it's 30 to 40 minutes or longer, except Sunday, it's an hour and a half. But so I do want to make a point. Gentle movement is curing, but it's not bad to get out there and really push it. It increases circulation, lymphatic drainage, and improves your endorphins, supports both physical as well as emotional health. Number three, deep connection with loved ones and pets. Love, laughter, connection release oxytocin, which counters the stress hormones and increases our will to keep going. 4, uplifting entertainment. Watching something that makes you laugh. Reading comics, I'll do that. Feel joy or cry in a cathartic way. Um, uh, I read that wrong. Watching something that makes you laugh, feel joy, or cry in a cathartic way provides emotional release without turning to food. Number 5, music and singing. Music therapy is powerful for emotional regulation and can shift mood quickly. Singing also activates the vagus nerve, enhancing relaxation. Number 6, journaling or gratitude, actually both. That practice of either or both, writing out thoughts or noting what you're grateful for, helps process emotions, reduces anxiety, and builds emotional strength during difficult times. 7, time in nature, being outdoors, barefoot on the earth, or surrounded by beauty or meaningful spaces that allow you to feel the same way, reduces inflammation and supports mental clarity. 8, artistic expression like drawing, painting, crafting, meaningful gardening, as opposed to simply maintenance, offers, well, maintenance can feel that same way to some people, but when we're really in the creative process of pulling that all together, it's, well, I'm a gardener, it's heavenly. Offers nonverbal ways to process and release stored emotional pain. This can be deeply nourishing. 9, hot showers or baths. Physical warmth soothes the nervous system and can be a wonderful replacement for emotional um, easing. Oh, misspelled word. A wonderful replacement for emotional eating. And then number 10, sleep and rest. Prioritizing sleep hygiene, rest breaks, and downtime is not lazy. It's when our bodies do, or our body does, its deepest repair work. People make a huge mistake when they think they accomplish more by sleeping less. Actually, they're undermining their ability to actually internalize what they've learned in a day. During sleep, that's when it starts to get filtered as well as embedded. So let's look at examples. This is what I do for meditation. What do you do for meditation? Make a note. What can you do for meditation? This is a guided meditation of 12 minutes. It is a 3-part series of um, 2 minutes each. Um, the series is run through and then run through again, and that's where we get the 12 minutes. And I have something to read you about the um, this type of meditation. It's called Curtain Kriya meditation. Oh, you know what? This slide doesn't show you that. So if you'd like, you can write it down. Curtain Kriya, Kirtanya, meditation and brain health. It's a 12-minute daily practice for cognitive clarity, calm, and longevity. I've done it now for, oh, I believe it's, I don't know, 4 months now, maybe 5. And I do it before I go to sleep. When I don't feel like it, I do it anyway. And if I'm ready to say, no, I'm not going to, then I'll do the 6-minute version. There is a 6-minute version of each of those 3 parts, which are then repeated 1 minute. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But usually I'll sit and do the entire process. The top benefits for our brain of Curtain Kriya meditation, and let me define it first. I'll go back. It's a simple, powerful meditation from the Kundalini yoga tradition. It combines chanting the sounds sa, ta, na, ma, uh, as a repetitive movement, mudra, and visualization for 12 minutes daily. Sa means born, ta means life, na is death, and ma is rebirth. And sometimes while I'm doing it, I'll actually imagine the playing out of those words, but usually I simply chant them. While doing that, I'm positioning my fingers, the thumb on the pointer, and then the middle, and then the third finger or the ring finger, and then the pinky as the words come out, sa, ta, nama, on both hands. And so this is a active participation. The top benefits for the brain: it improves memory and cognition, boosts memory and focus, enhances executive function, supports brain connectivity. It, number two, increases blood flow to key brain areas, improves circulation to the prefrontal cortex and the hypothalamus, supports regions involved in decision making and emotional regulation. Number three, reduces stress and balances hormones. It lowers cortisol, which is a stress hormone, enhances parasympathetic, the rest and digest nervous system activity, and promotes hormonal balance, including the melatonin and DHEA. Number four, it supports emotional well-being. It reduces anxiety and depression symptoms, increases alpha brain waves, calm, alert state, which is the alpha brain wave um, power, builds emotional resilience and inner peace. Number five, helps with brain detoxification, may support the brain's glymphatic system and aids in clearing beta amyloid plaque, which is linked to Alzheimer's. And number six, and strengthens the mind-body connection, coordinates sound, touch, which is the mudra, and the imagery, activates multiple brain regions simultaneously, and enhances sensory integration and neural efficiency. I'm going to put a link to this PDF um, that I'm reading from so that you can have this at your fingertips as well. It talks about how it's practiced, so it breaks down those elements I referred to, and then it's backed by research, and that's on this PDF as well. Studies from UCLA, the University of Pennsylvania, and Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation show significant improvements in memory, mood, and stress levels after 8 to 12 weeks of daily practice. It is simple, safe, and profoundly healing. Far more than you would expect from a 12-minute practice. Okay, so meditation. One way that I find very not only calming, but also restorative is walking. Of course, walking barefoot means that you are grounding. Walking up the beach means that you're also getting that extra nitrogen from the air with the waves crashing, and you have the sounds of nature. But if I'm not walking at home, or let's say at the beach, this is near my son's home. He lives on a peninsula in the Pacific Ocean. Then I love riding. If I'm on my bike or walking, I can't be happier. This is my husband's music room. We have weights in the music room. He goes out there and he jams. He's 73 and he was a rock drummer even while he was a professor at the college, the nearby college, and he was a CPA. He taught accounting and then later became an attorney. He's always had guys over jamming in his music room. And in the music room now, you can still see the guitar case on the right and amp on the left. We have a near and far infrared sauna, and that's used on a daily basis by my husband and a few times a week by me. Oops. These are friends of mine. There's a word in the blue zones that is often repeated because it's the Okinawan word for a gathering of close friends that have the intent to support each other through the lifetime, and that's a moai. Well, this picture was taken 22 years ago. Actually, maybe it's even 25 years ago. And these friends are still dear in my life. As a matter of fact, I knew them before I met the man whose arm I have around, and that is Tim Kelly. I was married for 40 years. My husband, I met him right out of the Marine Corps when he got out of Vietnam in 1969. And I was with him basically 41 years, married 40 years. He died of esophageal cancer 15 years ago. And I met Tim a couple of years after that, and he and I have been married now a little less than 13 years. And this was our wedding in a grape field. What would you call that? Oh my gosh. Let's see, orchard in Napa Valley. And that's his oldest daughter. And our dear, dear friends, Todd and Steve. And that's my family, my son, my only child, and his 14-year-old who has to look surly. That just seems to be his job. And the 11-year-old. And there are two new babies in our arms because there are two new babies in the family. When I met Tim, I was introduced to this family. His daughter on the right has two children, a 5-year-old and one brand new baby. Well, now they're a year and something. This was last October. And the girl to the woman, they're in their 30s, to the right of the tall dinosaur is his younger daughter, and that's her baby. She now is expecting another child in September of this year. So life goes on in an exciting way, even with a new person, which I never thought would happen. Even if we don't have those deep connections of loved ones, as we said in or as I recited in the outline, pets will fill in there too. The baby that I got was, what, 7 weeks old. Somebody had dumped her out of a car. We thought she was going to die. And she is Sunny. Uh, her hair color matches that term. And then her two sisters, Booty and Bling, who hated her at first. Now they, especially Booty, they wrestle and they play all over the house. And I look for ways to stay on top of emotions when I find myself entrenched in or shrouded by something that allows me to get into the depths of worry or depression. I don't get depressed, defensiveness or anger or whatever. I look for ways out of it. And I love cartoons. I think they're fun. I have somebody that sends me a cartoon every couple of days, and I send them on to Chef AJ because Chef AJ is battling her own situation and she loves to laugh, as do I. And I think both of these are so silly and fun. What do you mean I'm too controlling? And the sheep says, "You heard me," to the herding dog. And this one, Dennis the Menace. Do you remember Dennis the Menace? I'm old, I do. It was so innocent. My dad says you broke your leg in two places. If I were you, I'd stay away from those places. So innocent, so corny, and so cute. Okay, this is one of my writing areas. It's upstairs in my attic bedroom, and I can write at this old turn of the century desk. I can also write in front of a fountain in the backyard. That's our cattery to the right, the little screen. And I can write overlooking my garden. I also find that being out in nature is one of the things that, regardless of where I am in headspace, can always clear my mood. This is along our Santa Ana River Bottom Trail where I cycle in the morning going one way or the other. I also will spend all the time I can in my garden, which is a certified wildlife habitat. And just recently, I took last year's pots because the garden is so full of ornamental California natives as well as non-natives, and is shaded in so many places because of it being 20 years old and lots of trees. I designed this garden and I plant in layers. So the top layer is a canopy and shades things. That's fine for ornamentals, but not for vegetables. So I tore everything out of last year's pots and I just repotted them. And so I'm ready for my new vegetable collection of tomatoes and peppers, different types of peppers, and kale and eggplant. And I have one pot still empty up front because that will go, or I'll put a couple of mints in there and then I'll put some basil in another one. So, but what I wanted to express to you here, because I'm going to take you through a close look at what makes up color. Quite often we'll look out at a garden, quite often we'll look at anything and we'll note a general observation. Oh, that's a flower. Oh, that's a pink flower. And in this case, it's very obviously, oh, that's a pink flowering rose. But sometimes we need to slow down, really slow down, and look at it deep in the structure and the complexity and the beauty of any given flower. Well, a rose is known for that. These are all in my front yard. I haven't taken the photos of the backyard flowers yet. These are iceberg roses that aren't particularly beautiful in and of themselves, but they create a cloud above a bush of white flowers. This one is valerian. Centranthus ruber is the genus and species of valerian. And this one is what a lot of people call purple potato vine. It's Solanum rotinettii. And I just love that deep, deep purple of that solanum flower. Solanaceous flowers all look very similar to that. A tomato is solanaceous, and you'll see that there are some similarities in the flower that comes about before a tomato is formed. And irises, deep, deep purple and golden irises. This is a sage. Its purple is so deep that it makes me really happy. It's a guarana nitica, and its common name is black and blue sage. And this is another sage, Salvia leucantha, and the flower growing in it is an Asclepias. A common name for Asclepias is milkweed, but you can see every one of these, if you really look at them, are so interesting. And the Asclepias, in other words, the milkweed, is the one of, actually mainly, the plant onto which monarch butterflies will lay their eggs. And our garden has monarchs floating all over already, even though not all the Asclepias are in bloom. And this is something that is about as common as can be, at least in this area of Southern California. It's called society garlic, societal garlic. And yet the flower is so delicate, it's so pretty, it's almost like a firework, an open firework. And this one is um, kangaroo paw. Anagoxanthus is the genus of that. And you can't see it, but there's like a little pulling back of the sepals, and then the stamens coming out, and they look like the nails on a kangaroo's paw. And this is a lavender, but this one is the one that has the puff ears, or what I call the rabbit ears, and that's lavendula, which is the species, stoicis, which is Spanish, and that's the Lavendula stoicis is the Spanish lavender. The French lavender doesn't have these little ears coming up. And this is oh, now I'm losing names, and I knew I would, but this is actually a relative of poinsettia. Um, and you can see that the stems on it are very prickly, and yet the flower is so delicate and pretty, and they are actually just like the flowers of the poinsettia. That's not a true flower. It's a bract on it. Um, anyway, um, And then this is one of, it's something called a Santa Barbara daisy. It's just this blowsy little green lacy plant with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these tiny white flowers. They're either pink when they start out and go to white or fade back to pink. And even they are worth taking some time to look at. And then the non-flowers, this is an aeonium purpureae, deep, deep purple, succulent petals that add so much color to a garden. I look at any one of these and I think, oh my goodness, I could be here all day because they can feed you. What does the same for you? What photos, what videos can you look at that would do the same? And then we're advised to take advantage of the physical warmth that soothes the nervous system of either a hot shower or a hot bath. Yesterday morning, something that I had planned fell through. And I had some time and I knew I needed to put this together that I'm doing right now. So I did exactly what you're looking at. No, that's not my pretty bathtub. But I decided I could do it in a bathtub just as easily as at my desk. And I did a magnesium bath because I had done a 45-minute has-fit workout that was pretty strenuous. I thought, oh, good, I'll get into a hot magnesium bath. It was heavenly. I got done two things: spoil yourself. I decided to spoil myself with self-care in a way that actually allowed me to take care of two things at once. And then finally, sleep. This is my attic bedroom. This house was built in 1941. This was simply an attic that was, well, there were rafters on the top until one of the homeowners, this is what I heard from others, decided, oh, I know, one of the homeowners left the house to the church. The church allowed Parsons to live here, and this room was made into like a dorm room for traveling seminarians. And there's a bathroom and a work uh, bench, actually a little desk, and I partitioned part of it and made a rather large closet there. And this is also where I spend a lot of time sitting in that old oak rocking chair and writing or journaling or, oh, just chilling. Um, and that's it. So I would say to you, let me get this back up again. There. I would say to you, consider what we have outlined: meditation and mindfulness, gentle movement, deep connection, uplifting entertainment, music and singing, journaling or gratitude practice, time in nature in any way you enjoy it, artistic expression, hot showers and baths, sleep and rest, all of that is self-care. You also may define self-care in additional ways because you find nourishment, non-food, uh, rejuvenation, peace, doing other things. What are those things? Photograph them, journal them, remember them, and indulge yourself in something every day, even if it's a little something every day that allows you to have a way of walking away from what it is you're trying to leave behind. A long time ago, I had an eating disorder, more than 7 years ago. I couldn't think of anything I'd rather do than binge when I was sad, anxious, angry, happy, bored. Couldn't think of anything. Then I started adding things. First of all, I went whole food plant-based, and that took away the fear that I had of ever feeling feeling full with food. That's part of what bulimia does to you. You don't have to sit with it. It took away the fear of that because I knew the way I was eating didn't matter if I was full. It was okay. The food was okay. food fear went away then, but also through my research, and it wasn't even this, but through my research, I started finding things that made me feel good. And instead of going to the food, I could go to, well, gardening. I could go to talking to friends. That wasn't even, well, yes, it was deep connections. I learned how to exchange the dopamine hit from the food for the dopamine hit, oxytocin hit of any other, actually, great number of things that I could do. And I left behind something that I thought I'd never be able to leave behind. So, and that is Dr. Goldner's belief as well. I can't help you. You won't stay on this unless you add to it that exchange for what you're doing, that, well, it's your best friend every day. Let's find some new best friends. So that's all I have to say. I am also the author of Aging Powerfully, and in this book, there's a bit of memoir, and that memoir talks a little more about leaving the eating disorder behind, about the loss of one husband, the finding of another, but mainly what it talks about is the 9 recommendations for lifestyle modifications or adaptations that can take us into our 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond, based on evidence-based pillars of health. Okay, I hope you're having a great day. I know I am. Subscribe, pass this along. We're growing, and we have a lot to offer. And